Hi, I'm Mary Merrill Anderson, and I've had a long and happy career with Parks and Recreation. I began my career in 1972 at Powderhorn Recreation Center, fresh out of college, and I think they had to be absolutely nuts to hire me and put me at Powderhorn Park, but they did. The first year I was there, it was really quite exciting, and we were planning major reconstruction. And there I was at the 65-acre park, all of 20, maybe 22 years old, something like that. And so it was very exciting. And it was one of those kind of things where we said you either sink or swim. And I was grateful that I had a great supervisor, John Hanson, and he said, you better learn how to swim. Because he always really gave me a lot of freedom and flexibility to make choices and decisions. And so I think that helped me grow as a recreation leader, supervisor, and ultimately, as I went through my career as a training officer and a program manager through the park board, and then an assistant superintendent, and ultimately superintendent of the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board, I really learned to be able to take risk, but to be responsible, because it was gonna, if anything happened, I was gonna be the one held accountable. So I was always grateful for that early lesson in being able to have the freedom to take risk. I think some of the great things I remember in the Minnesota Recreation and Park Association is as a young park leader, I remember Rick Jorgensen calling me, always saying, Mary, you gotta get that membership done, gotta get that membership in, and that was always really a good thing. We did a lot of good work early on in my career as a part of the Minnesota Recreation and Park Association. I worked with Frank White, and we established an ethnic minority society way back in the early 70s, and it was really quite effective. We had a scholarship program where we encouraged students of color, or at that time we said minority students, to go to school and get a degree in Parks and Recreation. Did a wonderful job share or job switch, first of its kind, with Bev Wickenstein in St. Paul. So I went over and did her job for a couple of weeks, and she came over to Minneapolis and did my job for a couple of weeks. So that was really some of the highlights of my early career. I remember being on the entertainment committee, I think in 75 or 76, and really kind of breaking some ground. We had our first gospel choir, and we had Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, and their group played for us. That was our entertainment that year. So some really fun and exciting times as we went through Parks and Recreation. And as I started out, I think I just started because it was a career that I could do. In the end, it was absolutely the love of my life. I loved Parks and Recreation, absolutely believed in what it did for the quality of life for a community, its importance as a place to really develop citizens for democracy and for humanity. So this has been a great ride and a great time for me. Ultimately, I sat on the park board for one term, again, because I believe in the importance of Parks and Recreation from every aspect, from the environment, from the opportunity for communities to pull together and work together, for your opportunity to maximize your interests or hobbies, from the arts to being physically fit. Parks and Recreation really has been, and still is where it's at. And I'm hopeful, as a person who sat on the Minnesota Legacy Committee for Clean Water and Parks, that we continue that legacy on for the next generation, that we inherited so much in Minnesota and in Minneapolis in particular, in terms of parks, the land, the history of the benefits of Parks and Recreation, that I hope now that will continue for future generations. Happy birthday, MRPA, 75 years and still doing the right thing for Minnesota.